Greetings, everyone. Ryder Bullock with you. We welcome you to our Temecula studios. We are 24 hours away from the NBA draft. And tonight, this is not a mock draft. This is not what I would do. This is not what you would do. This is where the league appears to be right now. As we sit on the eve of draft night, the phones are ringing. The scouts have filed their final reports. General managers haven't slept in 3 days. Agents are working every angle imaginable, and somewhere right now, somebody is trying to convince a franchise that their player should go 3 spots higher than he probably should. That's draft season. Now let's start at the very top. The Washington Wizards have the first overall pick. For months, most people, myself included, assume that AJ Dybantsa would be the guy. Big wing, scores at all 3 levels, led Division I in scoring, looks the part of a franchise cornerstone. But over the last week, Darren Peterson has made a serious push. In fact, some boards now have Peterson ranked as high as number 1, and he could be the best prospect in the draft. Washington has repeatedly reported that it is a narrowed decision down to those 2 players. So, if you're Washington, this is actually a good problem. Peterson is probably the most gifted offensive player in the class. He has NBA star shot making ability. The comparisons are already flying around. Devin Booker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, big scoring guard, can take over games. Dybantsa, on the other hand, is the safer physical profile. 6'9", strong, powerful, attacks downhill. Looks like the type of wing every NBA team spends 10 years trying to find. The question isn't who's better. The question is what Washington wants to build around. And as we sit here tonight, I think the league still leans slightly toward Dybantsa going number 1. But Peterson has made this a real debate. That's where we are. Now, if you're Washington, do you take Dybantsa? Maybe. Utah will happily take Peterson. If Washington takes Peterson, Utah will happily take Dybantsa, and that's where the Jazz are sitting there smiling at number 2. But I want to go back to Washington really quick because breaking news, of course, from ESPN Sean Charania that Trae Young is going to stay with the Wizards. He is to ink that $212 million deal with the Wizards. And so whoever it is, if it's Dybantsa or if it's Peterson, they will be playing with a 4-time NBA All-Star. And that is going to make a big, big impact, not only in who they take, but also in how they figure out the league. Okay, so the Jazz, they don't have to make too much difficult decisions. Washington does, right? Jazz, whoever you don't take, I'm going to take. Washington, they've got to make that decision, right? And that brings us to number 3, Memphis. The assumption around the league for weeks has been Cameron Boozer, the Duke star, son of Carlos Boozer, winning pedigree, outstanding feel, high basketball IQ. Maybe not the freak athlete some teams crave, but this guy plays winning basketball. You know what scouts love? Guys who produce everywhere they've ever been. That's Boozer. Every team in the league thinks he's going to be a very good NBA player, myself included. The debate isn't whether he'll be good. The debate is whether he'll be great. That's a pretty nice debate to have. At 4, you got Chicago. Caleb Wilson is the name. Everybody keeps connecting to the Bulls. Tremendous athlete, explosive front court player. The Bulls have moved up in the lottery, and now they're sitting in a very comfortable position. They don't have to force anything after that. The draft changes. The first 4 picks feel relatively stable. 5 through 15 is total chaos. Clippers sit at 5 and might be the most fascinating team in the draft. They could make the pick. They could trade the pick. They could move up. They could move back. And if they stay there, Keaton Wagler is the name everybody keeps talking about. Big guard, smart player, shoots it, makes decisions. Teams love him, right? And why not when you got a great guy like Keaton Wagler, did phenomenal things there at, did great things there at Illinois. Starred as a freshman guard, earning consensus second team All-American honors, the Jerry West Award, Big Ten Freshman of the Year. How about the 6'6" man, right? And I like him. He's a great guy, shoots it, makes decisions. And you know what front office say about him? He just knows how to play. That's usually a compliment that ages very well. Now let's talk about Brooklyn. Okay, the Nets are one of the hardest teams in this draft to figure out. Now remember, the Nets last year had 6 first-round draft picks. And here they are again with another top 10 pick. Some people think they'll go guard, some think they'll go wing, some think they'll chase upside. Darius Akuff keeps getting linked there. He's a terrific offensive player. The question becomes whether Brooklyn prioritizes immediate production or long-term upside. The Kings at 7 are another interesting spot. Mikal Brown has gained momentum. Kingston Flemings from Houston has gained momentum as well. Akuff could still be there. This is where draft boards start separating. Everybody likes the top names. This is where teams reveal who they actually believe in. Now let's discuss the giant question hanging over the entire draft, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Every executive in the league is watching Milwaukee. Every executive. Because if Giannis gets moved, the entire board changes. Teams with multiple first-round picks suddenly become buyers. Teams planning to move up because aggressive playmaking, you're going to have that. Teams planning to rebuild accelerate those plans. And right now, the Bucks are the first domino. And nobody knows exactly when it's going to fall. We believe it could happen anytime between now and tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I've heard everything from he's going to Miami. Some say he's going to New York. I doubt he's going to New York. Miami seems to be the most feasible. And what does Miami do, right? With him, who do they take in the draft, or do they trade those draft picks for him? There. Want to talk about that for a second here. So I've been realizing we've not said where these guys played college basketball at. AJ Debonsa played college at BYU. Darren Peterson, point guard at Kansas. Cameron Boozer, center at Duke. Caleb Wilson, center from North Carolina. By the way, everybody I've just named is a freshman. Keaton Wagler, the shooting guard from Illinois, freshman. Mikal Brown Jr., the point guard from Louisville, freshman. And then Darius Akuff Jr., point guard from Arkansas, projected to go to Sacramento. Okay, so that's where we are right now. So let's hit a few teams quickly. Golden State at 11. The Warriors are in a fascinating spot. They still have Stephen Curry. Jimmy Butler's coming back healthy. And they believe they can contend, right? But they also need size. Ade Mara is the name being connected to them. The 7'3" exceptional passer from Michigan, fresh off the national championship. He's a junior. Mara sits firmly in the 8 to 12 range with his massive dimensions and offensive skill, creating a unique profile that a number of teams have come to convert. He would be a natural fit in Golden State if he falls down in the board, with the Warriors lacking it for size and depth up front, and likely to value Mara's playmaking talent in Steve Kerr's ball movement centric offense. Okay, so very skilled, not perfect, but if you're Golden State, you're trying to maximize whatever Curry years you have left. You need contributors, not projects. The Thunder continue to be the most dangerous team in basketball because they have assets everywhere. Lottery picks, future picks, young players. They could stay where they are. They could move up. They could make a blockbuster trade. never assume Oklahoma City is done when the draft starts. The Heat are sitting there waiting. The Lakers need size. The Knicks, fresh off their championship run, need front court depth. The Spurs continue to build around Victor Wembanyama. Some uncertainty about Fox and what they will do. And every one of those teams believe they can find somebody who helps immediately. Now, let's discuss the players generating the most debate. Nate Ament, okay? Huge upside here. Some love him, some don't love him. And Nate Ament, he's going to be a guy that I've got on my list here from Tennessee. 6'10", 211-pound freshman from Massachusetts, 16.7 points. It was 126th in Division I, 6.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 39.9% shooting for the freshman. He's got some upside. Some scouts love him. Others think he's years away. Jaden Quaintance. Okay, this is a lottery talent, but he's got some medical problems. We know that, and not a guy that I watched too much here from Arizona State, but did do well there. He was a Big 12 All-Defensive team, was a McDonald's All-American in 2024, and then made the Big 12 All-Freshman team there. But we did talk about his injuries there. He had knee surgery on March 19th. Following the season, he entered the transfer portal, and he later announced he would transfer to Kentucky, where he originally committed to play his freshman year, never made it to Kentucky, and stayed at Arizona State. Now he's in the draft, and that's always dangerous, right? Entering the draft, uncertainty. Excuse me. Thought I had something here. What do we got here? This is breaking news. Excuse me. Just in, Minnesota is sending Julius Randle and the number 28 pick in the NBA draft to the Brooklyn Nets in a 3-team trade that sends Nick Claxton to the Chicago Bulls. So the Timberwolves will acquire Brooklyn's number 33 pick for Randle and the number 28 pick. Thank you, Shams Charania, for that breaking news. And again, it's draft night. You never know. So the Timberwolves will acquire Brooklyn's number 33 pick for Julius Randle and number 28. So back to Jaden Quaintance. Lottery talent, medical questions. It's always dangerous this time of year. One doctor's report can move a player 10 spots. Okay, the other, sometimes it's one net. Cram Lopez is an international prospect. Could be the first Mexican player. He's from Mexico City to be drafted. He's still developing, but teams love the size. They love the upside. They love the versatility. Then you got older prospects, right? Like Yaxel Lindenberg, fresh off a national title with Michigan. Bennett Stritz, Christian Anderson. These are guys contenders love because they can potentially help right away. Not every team wants a 3-year development project. Some teams want a player who can give them 15 minutes a night in November. Those players matter a lot. Now let's get into the biggest question every fan asks. How strong is this draft? We've been talking about it for a very long time. I think it's a very good draft. I don't think it's as historic as everybody thinks. I don't think it's 03. Right? I don't think it's a Wembanyama draft. I don't think it's the 96 draft. The top feels strong. The lottery feels strong. We do have some depth in this draft class. And I think when we look back 5 years from now and we'll find quality NBA starters all over the first round, maybe even into the second round. And that's what makes the draft fun, right? Everybody remembers the stars, the real winners. They're often the teams that find, somebody at 23, 27, 31. That's where championships get built. Now, before we leave tonight, let's review where the league appears to stand 24 hours before draft night. Washington has a major decision that I think is already answered, but you never know. Devonta Peterson. Utah's comfortable with whichever player falls. Memphis appears locked onto Boozer. Chicago sits in a strong position at 4. The Clippers could reshape the entire top 10. And then we have the Giannis situation continuing to hang over the league. And somewhere tonight, there's a player nobody's talking about who will become one of the best players in this class. There always is every year. And that's why we watch. That's why the draft matters. And that's why tomorrow night, every fan base will convince themselves they just found the future. So we'll find out soon enough. And we've spent the past few moments here talking about the lottery, the stars, the franchise players, the guys who will be sitting in the green room shaking hands with the commissioner. But I want to focus on a couple things here real quick, and then we'll go down the draft class. What am I most interested to see? I'm interested to see a couple things. One, I'm interested to see where the guys from Michigan go. Okay, in last year's draft, Walter Clayton Jr., fresh off the Florida National Championship, went 15th. Okay, we've already talked about Mara being potentially the first pick to go for Michigan, and I think it's before 15th. I'll fact check that really quick here. I think it's before I think it's before 15th. He's going to Golden State, I believe. Yeah, he would be 11th, okay? So Mara would be 11th. That is 4 spots higher than Walter Clayton Jr. went last year. Second thing I'm interested to see, okay? Now that now that Dallas has a head coach in Dusty May, what does he do? Is he on the phone right now trying to get those Michigan boys to come play for him? Mara, Lindenberg, others that are in that draft class. You just watched 3 Villanova guys win a national championship. Win an NBA title. Who won a national championship with Villanova, ended up winning an NBA championship just a week ago with the New York Knicks. So is that now the blueprint? Dusty May? Maybe. So, interested to see about that. And then the only team now without an NBA head coach is, I believe, Portland. Fact check that. It was Dallas and Portland, but I believe it is just Portland now. And do you want to go to a team that does not... Yeah, it is Portland. So do you want to go to a team that does not have a coach? My answer to that would be no. And then the other thing I'm interested to see is there's this kid from Princeton. Well, he played at Princeton. He now played for Florida. He's in the draft now. Is Xavier Lee, okay, the Canadian-American guard who played for Princeton before transferring to the Florida Gators for his senior season. He declared for the 2024 NBA draft, but withdrew to retain college eligibility, later transferring to Florida, where he averaged 11.6 points, 4.2 assists, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game. Lee is known for his scoring versatility, playmaking, and ability to run offensive effectively through his three-point shooting and defensive consistency. He's been great. 6'4" combo guard, 6.475 wingspan. I watched his workout. I've seen a couple of his workouts, and I watched him at Florida, of course. Great in Florida. I thought he was the best player on the team. Took him to the Elite Eight, and really a reason why I had him in the Final Four last year, and thought maybe they could go back to be national champions. But I watched his workout. He's phenomenal. He can shoot the ball very well. And I watched his team interview. He did some interviews with the Pacers. And man alive, if I'm Herb Simon, I'm calling that boy's agent tonight and saying, what do we got to do? I don't get drafted at all. So let's start with the safest group. If you're ranked in the 20s right now, you're probably feeling pretty good tonight. Zuby Ejiofor from St. John, Koa Pete from Arizona, Henry Vassar, Malik Thomas, Sergio DiLara, Alex Karabin. Those guys should hear their names called. Maybe not first round for all of them, but they're getting drafted. Teams know who they are. They've been through the process. They've worked out. There's enough tape. Those players should sleep pretty well tonight. Now the next group is where things start to get interesting. Terrace Reed, Joshua Jefferson, Ryan Conwell, Jack Cayley, Richie Sanders, Emmanuel Sharp, which I think Emmanuel Sharp should get drafted. He's a great player too. Brandon Smith from Purdue. I personally, I'm not gonna get a lot of stuff about. I'm probably gonna get some flack about this. I know those Pacer fans want Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer. I would stay away from those guys, Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer. I would draft Emmanuel Sharp before I would draft Brandon Smith. Just my opinion. But those guys are what I call board guys. Okay, and every team has them somewhere. The question is how high. One front office might have him at 32nd, another might have him at 58. That's how these drafts work. Okay? One scout falls in love with a player, and suddenly he's 20 picks higher than everybody expected. Now let's talk about some names I think NBA teams like more than fans realize. Okay, and that is Xavier Lee, right? I think he's tough. He's smart. He wins. Not exactly. He's a little older. I mean, he's not 18 years old. He's, he's in his 20s. Played, like I said, all Ivy at Princeton, and then transferred his senior year to Florida. And two-time first team all Ivy, and just a great guy. Listen to these numbers. Played 35 games. For Florida last year, played 27 minutes, 42% shooting, 29 from 3, 76% from the line, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, averaged 11 points per game. And and because he's older, fans think he's boring. Well, I don't think he's boring. NBA teams don't think he's boring. NBA teams think he can help them. Those are two different conversations. Same thing with Ryan Conwell. Can shoot, can play, can fit into rotation. There are always teams looking for those guys. Now let's discuss, the international players. Sergio DiLara, Jack Cahill, Noam Yakov. Those players have a huge advantage this time of year because some teams don't need immediate help. Okay? You look like you got a guy like Vaisvold Eisenko. Okay, he is just happy to be here. Okay, and some teams are perfectly happy drafting a player and letting him stay overseas. The old draft and stash strategy never completely goes away. That's why international prospects often surprise people on draft night. Now let's get into the bubble. Here, this is where things become uncomfortable. Bruce Thornton, Tobby Law, Tyler Nickel, Malik Brown, Uzan, Otiga Olwe, Colin Boswell. Those players are living in the danger zone. Okay, one team loves them, another team doesn't have them on the board. Okay, that's the reality. You can be ranked 45th and go 29th. You can be ranked 35th and not get drafted. It happens every year. Now let me get you a few names that executives keep mentioning as potential steals, and that's Otige Olwe, the Kentucky wing. He's strong, physical, competitive. Somebody is going to convince themselves that's an NBA role player. Nate Biddle, 7-footer. He can shoot, can stretch the floor. The league always has room for size, always. Bruce Thornton, productive, experienced, good decision maker. If you're a playoff team drafting late, that's the kind of player you consider. Now let's talk about the toughest group, the players ranked from about 70 to 100 because the truth is many of them won't hear their names called. Not because they can't play, not because they're not talented, simply because they are only 60 picks. Okay, and that's Mark Mitchell, Tamlin Limpsey, Keyshawn Hall, Darren Williams, Trey Kaufman-Renn. Another guy that I would stay away from. I would also stay away from Fletcher Loyer. Okay, Seth Trimble, Isaac McNeely, Tucker DeVaris. Okay, these are all legitimate basketball players. But the league starts asking different questions down here. How old are you? Can you shoot? Can you defend? Do you have one elite NBA skill? Because if you don't have an elite skill, it gets harder. Much harder. Now here's what fans forget every year. Not getting drafted is not the end. Fred VanVleet wasn't drafted. Jose Alvarado, who just won a championship with the Knicks, wasn't drafted. Austin Reeves wasn't drafted. There are roster spots available after the draft. Summer League exists. We'll be there. Training camp exists. Two-way contracts exist. Sometimes going undrafted is actually better than being selected 59th because then you can choose your destination. You can pick the opportunity. You can find the right fit. Now, if I'm betting on a few names from outside the top 60 to hear their names called tomorrow night, I'd watch Josh Dix, Seth Trimble, Otiga Owe, Nate Battle, Isaac McNeely, maybe Tamlin Limpsey, maybe Trey Kaufman-Renn, maybe Xavier Lee. Those are the types of players who rise late because coaches trust them. And coaches matter this time of year a lot. So as we sit here 24 hours before the draft, here's the bottom line. The lottery feels relatively clear. The middle of the first round feels unsettled. The second round feels completely wide open. Somewhere between picks 40 and 60, a future NBA star is hiding in plain sight. There always is. Nobody knows who it is yet, but that's why they hold the draft. And we will find out tomorrow night. So this works, yeah. So this is where we are, and this is where we will find out tomorrow night. Draft coverage begins tomorrow, right here, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:30 Pacific Time. We'll take you up to the start of the draft at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's our draft talk. I want to get into something that's actually pretty interesting. Everybody talks about the NBA being a global league. Everybody says basketball is bigger than ever. Well, this week in Singapore, you're seeing exactly what that means. The second annual NBA Rising Stars Invitational tips off tonight at OCBC Arena in Singapore. And this isn't some exhibition. This is a real international high school tournament. 24 teams, 12 boys teams, 12 girls teams, countries from all across the Asia-Pacific region. These kids are playing for championships, they're playing for pride, and some of them are playing for futures that could eventually lead them right into college basketball and maybe even the NBA someday. So here's what I like about this event. The NBA isn't just showing up and putting logos everywhere. They're bringing some real names here. Jeremy Lin will be there. Mitch Robinson will be there. Rui Hachimura will be there. Lauren Jackson will be there. Those are players who actually mean something in different parts of the basketball world. Jeremy Lin especially. If you're talking about basketball in Asia, you're talking about basketball's growth internationally. Lin is one of the most important figures of the last 20 years, point blank period. The impact he had went way beyond what happened during Linsanity in New York. He opened doors for an entire generation of young players who could finally see somebody who looked like them succeeding at the highest level. And that's really what this tournament is all about. The NBA is trying to identify talent, grow the game, and create connections throughout the region. Singapore gets the spotlight this week, but if you've got teams coming from Australia, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, the Philippines, China, and beyond, and that's pretty impressive. Now, I want to talk about tonight's schedule because there are actually some games worth watching at the main arena hall, number one. Things get underway with Nanyang Polachek taking on Yali High School at 11 a.m. local time. That's in about, 8 p.m. Pacific time, midnight, or 11 p.m. Eastern time. Then you'll get Kungbok High School against Jubilee School before the opening ceremony at 4 p.m. local time. After that, the evening session features Institute of Technical Education versus Tsinghua University High School, followed by Heapyun School against Hawei Chong Institution. Meanwhile, over in Hall 3, Bukit Jail Sports School faces Berwick College to start the day. Then Wanan Opakan School meets Galgu Spear Girls High School, and then later Rovere Secondary College takes on Royal International School, and the night closes with Far Eastern University Dillman High School facing Hua Chong Institution. So you've got basketball all day, all night. You've got international competition. You've got NBA and WNBA stars making appearances. You've got fan events. You've got a chance to see players that most people outside the region have never heard of before, and maybe they become bigger names. That's how this game grows, right? Not just through the finals, not just through the draft. It grows because somewhere in Singapore tonight, there's probably a kid playing in this tournament who believes he's the next Rui Hachimura, the next Jeremy Lin, or maybe something we've never seen before. And if the NBA is serious about being a global league, well, and I believe they are, events like this matter a lot more than people realize. That will do it for this NBA Draft and Rising Stars preview. We are back tomorrow for the full draft and more from Singapore. Again, start time tomorrow is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We will have full preview of tonight's draft, or tomorrow's draft, rather, and also highlights from Singapore. And of course, you can follow everything you need to know about what's happening in the draft, what's happening in Singapore on our Writer Report Instagram channel. So yes, NBA Draft Countdown, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have NBA Draft Night 1 and Rising Stars Day 1 reaction show. And then immediately following round 1 for full recap of the draft. You don't want to miss it. For all of us here at the Hardwood Report and the Writer Report, I'm Ryder Bullock saying hop on over to YouTube and watch the NBA